Huh? Just when I thought that y'all could have messed up even more, y'all made my Thanksgiving. You Cowboy fans out there, it's a tough night, isn't it? It's a tough night. Had a tough year, but the bottom line is you all were talking smack. You thought you were going to be in first place after the night, didn't you? You thought you was going to be in first place. You thought that, hey, Thanksgiving, we're going to be in first place, but guess what? No can do. Those Cowboys now are 3-8 on mine, even lower than we expected. To Alex Smith and the Washington football team that don't even have a name. All I got to say is this. How about the Cowboys on Thanksgiving yet again? Bye, y'all.
Clock is stopped at 3:39 to go. It's a 3rd and 6 for Washington at the Dallas 37. Inside handoff. Gibson has the space at the 30, 25, into the free. 10-5. Touchdown. Hey. Touchdown, Washington.
Welcome back in. Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Shay and Jordan Cornette filling in on this Friday morning. I know everyone's probably waking up a little bit slow, getting to all that. But we still got some football and some sports to talk about, including SportsCenter right now. Washington defeated Dallas 41-16, and they move into first place in the NFC East. Washington's 41 points matches its most in the 122-game head-to-head series with the Dallas Cowboys, including the playoffs. The Cowboys now have been swept in-season series by Washington for the first time since 2012. Lamar Jackson tests positive for coronavirus. Jackson is among the 4 latest Ravens players and 1 staff member to test positive on Thursday, a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The Ravens now have had at least a dozen players test positive for COVID-19 just this week. Number 1 Gonzaga defeats number 6 Kansas 102-90. Mark Few won his 600th game on Thursday, becoming the 3rd fastest coach to reach 600 wins in Division I history, behind only Adolph Rupp and Jerry Tarkanian. This was Kansas's worst loss in season opener since 1983 and 1984. SportsCenter is brought to you by Shell. Get more time to listen to our show by going on the Shell and getting 3 things done at once. Fill first with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus, then save with the Fuel Rewards program. Finally, snack up to save even more at the pump. The most, stop when you need to make time with Shell.
The Ravens have had 4 more players test positive for COVID, one of them being Lamar Jackson.
John Harbaugh told his team that they will not be allowed, the players will not be allowed into the building until Monday at the earliest because they're worried about the spread of the virus. This would be classified as an outbreak.
Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin, Shay, and Jordan Cornette here with you on a Friday morning, filling in for the big guys. And if I ever read something the way I just read that, I don't know that we'll ever be asked.
Hey, it happens.
It happens.
You know this one. You know this bop, right?
Oh, yeah, I do. But I hate when
I'm not
you
putting
me on
I just
music.
say yes. I'm not going to
Yes,
ask you.
I know. Of course I know it. It was on my first iPod Shuffle back in the day.
There you
Remember
go.
those?
All right, let's take it back.
A little pink one.
Okay,
some serious news, though, that we do need to get to. The Ravens are having issues with the coronavirus. There's a straight-up outbreak going on amongst this team. And as of yesterday, Lamar Jackson had tested positive for COVID-19. Now, I don't mean to single out one single player, because it doesn't matter who's testing positive at this point. It's a serious situation. Lamar Jackson just happens to be the reigning MVP, the star quarterback, a star quarterback in this league, and the star quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. And so this game between the Ravens and the Steelers was supposed to be played Thursday. It has now been pushed to Sunday. What do? You're constantly having all these positive tests, and you can't. The Steelers have already had a bye. You can't just create a bye out of nowhere.
You're running out of flexibility.
You're running out of options.
The real estate to make this happen. And Shay, to me, it's pretty clear what has to happen. It doesn't appear that this game can be played on Sunday. And Jeremy Fowler is going to join us, ESPN NFL Insider, here shortly. I don't see how the game happens on Sunday. So then what do you do? Week 18, in a season full of firsts, in a world full of firsts, and how we're being flexible and adjusting, it's either forfeit the game, the Ravens, because they're the ones who are negligent in how they handled this, and albeit it started from a guy who was in their strength and conditioning staff not wearing a mask and not properly reporting symptoms, but that's not adhering to protocol. So, and I don't think forfeit's really going to be on the table here. So to me, it feels like Week 18, scheduling this game. And if you think Pittsburgh was upset now or then, imagine how upset the Steelers have to be at the premise, at the notion that they might be playing this game in Week 18. An undefeated team with the look at the records, the best team in the NFL, having to do something like that. I mean, that's just an obstacle that you got to feel like is unfair, because this is now the second team that has been negligent on your schedule where you're negatively impacted. And we spent a lot of the show yesterday saying the Steelers have to understand this is the world we're in, but it becomes a tough pill to swallow when the Titans were reckless once and it impacted negatively you having to enter a bye week and messing up your whole schedule, to now potentially playing Week 18 because of how the Ravens have handled this. I'd be pretty upset if I was the Steelers in that regard. I would.
See, I think that reverses it. I would assume the Steelers are no longer as upset as they were because they see how many players have now tested positive.
Oh, yeah, about playing the game, no question.
So Jeremy Fowler is ready. Let's go to him now. He's our ESPN senior national NFL reporter. Jeremy, thanks for being with us this morning. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. So a lot to talk about here with this Ravens team and the outbreak that is happening. I know Lamar Jackson is the latest to now test positive. Their game has been moved from Thursday to Sunday, but Sunday's game seems to be in question. What's the latest with their game on Sunday? Is it scheduled as planned?
Well, the latest is the league is going to make a decision today. They have not made a decision yet. They're evaluating all options. If it is close to medically safe, if they can say that, then they want to play on Sunday, because they don't want to forfeit, because then really the Ravens wouldn't even get paid for the game. They don't want to move it to Week 18 unless they absolutely have to. Now, that's in their back pocket. They can shift it to that last week of the year right before the playoffs and go from there. But they don't want to do that just for one game. So I would suspect that they would move this back a day or two before they would do that. So maybe try to play on Monday or Tuesday, maybe move the Ravens next Thursday game against the Cowboys back a few days and just go on a sliding scale.
Jeremy, if you're the Steelers, of those options you've laid out, which one would be more appealing to you? Would it be playing this game a few days later, or would it be moving it to Week 18? Either one seems like a supreme headache, but understanding that this is the era that we are in.
They'd probably rather play it now, even if it was a day or two after, than have to play at Week 18. Especially with this is a team that could go 16-0. You don't want to have to play the Ravens right before the playoffs. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for them. They're upset either way. They're really fired up. They are bracing for a change to Week 18, knowing that it's on the table, but they're hoping that that's not the outcome right now. They'd rather play it on a Monday or Tuesday than they would move it back.
Okay, so speaking of that Week 18, and we've talked a lot about the NFL creating that Week 18 because this seems to be inevitable at this point. A lot of teams have already had their byes. We've already had issues with switching schedules around, and now the Steelers are at the forefront of that conversation. Is a Week 18 inevitable at this point, Jeremy?
I'm not so sure, but it seems to be trending that way, because now you've had a Ravens situation where this is usually a very stable, smart organization that takes all the right precautions, but all it took is one strength coach to not be wearing his mask, and then you have a couple positive tests on game day last week, and all of a sudden you have a complete outbreak of a dozen or more players. And so the leagues, it hoped that it had moved past that, but with the rising COVID cases around the country, they're prepared to get at least a few games moved back. They would consider themselves pretty fortunate if they